Away the lad, how Alexander Isak's long and messy departure from Newcastle unfolded. A saga that began with whispers of a pay rise, moved through moments of brilliance on the pitch, and ended with a record-breaking British transfer to Liverpool. Few players in world football are capable of stealing the spotlight from Mohamed Salah, yet Alexander Isak did just that, only last month, in a way that sent shockwaves through English football and beyond. The Egyptian king was center stage at Manchester's Opera House, preparing to deliver his PFA Player of the Year speech, when the crowd's attention suddenly shifted elsewhere. Phones buzzed, notifications spread like wildfire, and in an instant Salah's big moment was eclipsed. Why? Because Alexander Isak had dropped a bombshell on Instagram. His post accused Newcastle United of broken promises, severing the bond between club and player once and for all, and setting in motion the final chapter of his messy, drawn-out exit from St. James's Park. What unfolded from that moment was drama fit for a football opera of its own. Timing, as ever, was everything for the Swedish striker. Just as he times his runs in the box, Isak had chosen the perfect moment to make his final play. Newcastle executives were blindsided. Up until then, faint hopes remained that he could be reintegrated into the squad. That dream evaporated instantly. The Magpies' Saudi-backed majority owners, the Public Investment Fund, reacted with defiance, issuing a bullish statement insisting their £63 million star was going nowhere. But behind the bravado, the endgame had already begun. This was not an impulsive outburst. It was the culmination of a saga stretching back more than a year. It all began in the spring of 2024. Amanda Staveley, Newcastle's former minority owner, had promised Isak a new enhanced contract in the summer. For the player, that pledge carried weight. Staveley was trusted by the dressing room, admired by head coach Eddie Howe, and known for her unique ability to bridge the gap between the Saudi ownership and the players. But when Staveley was ousted after losing a power struggle with CEO Darren Eales, the dynamic shifted. Her departure left a vacuum of trust, and into it stepped Paul Mitchell, the abrasive new sporting director. One of his first moves was to advise chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan to revoke Staveley's promise to improve Isak's £140,000 per week contract. The striker was furious, and the damage was done. The tension bled into the following season. Howe later admitted it was a very difficult summer with an unsettled dressing room. Isak started slowly, scoring just once in Newcastle's first 7 games. Yet, despite the turmoil, his quality shone through. He finished the season with 27 goals in all competitions, spearheading Newcastle's League Cup triumph and securing Champions League qualification. But the joy was short-lived. After the cup glory, his form dipped, and behind the scenes, the relationship with Howe and the club hierarchy grew strained. By June, a training ground meeting between Isak, his representatives, and Howe turned sour. Newcastle's owners had softened their stance, ready to offer him £200,000 a week, but the player wanted more, and crucially, he wanted Liverpool. His desire became even clearer during a preseason camp in Salzburg, where divisions emerged within the squad. Some players criticized his attitude, while close friends Sven Botman and Joe Willock offered support. The dressing room was fractured. Then came the breaking point. Isak skipped the club's summer tour to Singapore and South Korea, choosing instead to train alone in Spain without permission. Upon his return, he rejected Howe's attempts at reintegration. He was told to stay away from a team-bonding barbecue, left to train in isolation, endlessly striking balls into empty nets and rebound walls. His mind was made up. Newcastle, privately, began to accept that keeping him was no longer realistic. The only sticking point was finding a replacement, with several targets like Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Šeško refusing to join St. James's Park. Meanwhile, Liverpool's opening bid of £110 million was dismissed as an insult. The decisive moment came late one Monday afternoon in Darras Hall, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Northumberland. Behind tall hedges and heavy security gates, Isak and his hardline Serbian advisor Vlado Lemic met a Saudi delegation and Newcastle minority owner Jamie Rubin. The message was blunt. Isak would never wear black and white again. Within 45 minutes, the visitors left, returning to St. James's Park, where, in a bitter twist of fate, Newcastle were beaten 3-2 by Liverpool that same evening. Howe, by then, had not spoken to his star striker in nearly 2 weeks. He made his stance clear. Only players fully committed to Newcastle had a place in his plans. That same week, chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan finally relented. On a rare trip to Tyneside, he sanctioned the signing of Stuttgart striker Nick Woltemade for £70 million, effectively opening the door for Isak's departure. By Saturday, reports from Sweden suggested Isak had already said his goodbyes to teammates. Eddie Howe, ever diplomatic, refused to confirm it, but the writing was on the wall. The deal was nearly complete, and with it, Newcastle's messy divorce from their most talented striker of the modern era. For Newcastle's Saudi owners, the saga was bruising. Comparisons to the much-maligned former owner Mike Ashley stung deeply. For Liverpool, however, it was triumph. Isak, one of Europe's most complete strikers, was theirs, secured in a record-breaking British transfer worth £130 million. For Isak himself, it was liberation, the culmination of a year-long battle for control over his career. He had turned down promises, endured isolation, clashed with management, and played politics off the pitch with the same precision he showed in front of goal. In the end, he got what he wanted, a move to Anfield, where he would join Salah, the man he once upstaged, to write the next chapter of his story. From a broken promise of a pay rise to a bitter fallout with Newcastle's hierarchy, from the highs of silverware to the lows of isolation, Alexander Isak's departure was anything but ordinary. It was long, messy, and filled with drama at every turn. Yet, like all great strikers, he timed his final run to perfection. Newcastle were left bruised, Liverpool were left celebrating, and the Premier League witnessed a transfer saga that will be remembered for years to come.